by the house that caused her pains. With iron and magic she sealed away. But her power grows stronger every day. She lost the friends that she once knew. And one day soon, she's coming for you.
Kasumi's lore, some pains persist beyond our physical existence. The bitterest concoctions pale compared to the taste of betrayal by those you hold dear. Once, by a house meant to protect. Twice, by family with barren hearts. Thrice, by the world. You couldn't imagine such pain. Thankfully, you won't have to imagine. Powers from beyond the grave infused this angry spirit on her path of vengeance, and your pain pleases her. It is your privilege to suffer at her hands. It is your fate to atone for the sins of the world. It is your honor to writhe. Now, struggle, and die, and offer your souls to Kasumi, death's howl. For she is coming for you all.
So, how did you get this?
A gentleman never tells.
That's why I'm asking you, Caspian.
You know me so well. It was just left lying around, totally unguarded, for anyone to find. Can you even imagine?
No.
Well, is it even that important? After all, finders keepers.
Something tells me you're going to be in a lot of trouble for taking this.
Sounds like fun. Care to join me?
About Caspian, his playful banter and deadly grace complement a deadly skill set as he dazzles and flourishes his way to absolute victory. Caspian is bolstered by his passive, piercing and sharp momentum, which allows him to alternate between increasing the attack speed of his primary or secondary fires on impact. Coupled with his speedy, flashy attacks, Caspian commands the attention of his enemies and admirers alike. Caspian also charms with his other abilities like deadly momentum, which allows Caspian to dash and whirl around his enemies, inflicting damage in the process. Finally, Caspian's ultimate is Storm of Blades, a lethal ability which allows him to summon a series of blades around him that deal massive damage every time he fires his gun or swings his sword. These blades are fired off to pierce any enemies that are unlucky enough to stand in his way. When Caspian is on the scene, no enemy in sight can escape his dashingly deadly skills. Caspian's lore, there are few still alive with the skill, the alluring performance, nay, the enrapturing, dazzling spectacle that is what sights behold you when witnessing this dashing rogue's deadly skills and quicksilver tongue in action. Blessed with arcane weapons and years of streetwise knowledge and training, he takes what he wants and gives some of it away, if he likes you, of course. Recently finding himself in possession of an abyssal artifact most would deem too dangerous to handle, hey, it was just lying around, Caspian, thief of hearts and treasure, will have his work cut out for him to survive what comes next. The pursuit of hedonistic perfection is a dangerous occupation, but when has that ever stopped anyone?
Stand down. I called her here.
Grand Magister Lian.
It's the only way to save him. He's dying.
Well, you do only call when you need my help.
About Lilith, through the manipulation of blood magic, Lilith has several ways to both damage her foes and heal herself and her allies. Her blood hex allows her to heal herself to either damage an enemy or heal an ally, while her swarm will enable her to channel a stream of bats that heals allies and damages enemies, creating a dangerous zone. Finally, Lilith's ultimate invokes the Blood Moon, giving her allies life rip and greatly enhancing her physical abilities for a time, on top of increasing Lilith's survivability with constant health rigging. All of these should combine to create a support that is well built to win a war of attrition, making her a terrifying foe. Lilith's lore, what is the value of eternal life? At what point does the cost become too great? Lilith, through ill fortune and fear, has found herself on the path of this defiled discovery. Once a staunch defender of the magistrate, Lilith was a confidant and friend of Lian, even becoming a border lord in the far-off lands over which Lian holds dominion. Yet, this proud life would not last forever. Gravely wounded in a border incursion by resistance fighters, Lilith painstakingly crawled away from the battlefield, cursing those who brought her to death's door. What Lilith didn't know, what she couldn't have imagined, was that the Abyss would reach out to her and offer her a gift, an offer that was too powerful to refuse. Now, Lilith reigns from her dark corners of the realm. Aided by her unnaturally long life and keen mind, Lilith dashes from shadow to shadow with her deadly heart of crimson, a sinister weapon that swells with unnatural power whenever it tastes the blood of her enemies. Lilith works towards a realm blessed by the bounteous gifts once bestowed on her, ones that nobody will be allowed to deny.
Yes! Run while you can! I designed you. You can't escape me. Long live the Queen.
About Betty La Bamba. Betty La Bamba is a damage champion, capable of outputting massive area damage from long range and zoning control on the map. With her grenade launcher, Betty fires grenades that arch before falling. She can easily apply heavy pressure on the point or in flanking lanes using both hail of bombs and cluster grenade. Enemies caught within proximity of her grenades will take heavy damage based on their distance from the explosives. In addition, she is also very agile. With the ability Explosive Personality, she can quickly move over long distances of the map and even damaging and knocking back enemies caught behind and below her. Her ultimate, Long Live the Queen, let her summon and control a large rocket that she can ride into enemies or send flying. Betty La Bamba's lore, she had it all. The brains, the looks, the power. None of the other lords dared defy her wishes, and her wish was for everything. She designed and commissioned the creation of living weapons, bombs meant to bring her enemies' defenses crumbling down and her foes to their knees. What she didn't expect was for one of her newly created bombs to develop a mind of its own, such as it was. Having lost her domain to the rapid explosions of this new bomb king, Betty La Bamba has determined that it is time for her creation to return to his rightful place, under her thumb. Whether that is as her partner in expanding her new rule or as bits of scrap for her new toys has yet to be determined. Nothing will stand in the way of her gadgets and explosives as the Bomb Queen reestablishes herself as the rightful ruler of the realm.
I am the executioner of the Outer Tribunal. I am your final sentence. This is the savior of the realm. Try and save yourself.
About Seven. Seven is a mobile flank character with a heavy reliance on accuracy, decision-making, active play, and cooldown management. He has 3 different fire modes available that can be switched in battle. The mode used has an influence on the accuracy and the effective distance, which usually reaches medium ranges. Seven can grapple to walls with his grappling hook and stick to them, becoming stealthed. Thus, he can overcome long distances, hold out at the wall, and surprise enemies from ambush. In close combat, he uses his explosive dodge to avoid enemy attacks and lure them into his explosive trap. He can also pull lightweight opponents, non-frontlines, into the trap with his grappling hook. His ultimate ability can help him out of a pinch by scaring away enemies. Seven's lore, since the very beginning, the realm has been in peril. Be it calamitous threats rivaling the scourges of old, or the unbridled ambitions of evil men, fate has always conspired against realmkind. It was in defiance of this injustice that the Outer Tribunal was formed. But for true justice to prevail, the Order would need more than pious judges. They'd need an executioner. Someone unburdened by the trappings of mercy who would ensure that judgments cast were judgments kept. 7 is one whose past is chronicled upon the gravestones of the wicked. He is the Grim Reaper, a collector of tithes made in guilty blood. Like a phantom, he undertakes missions that would break most men, employing ruthless force and deadly precision. But then again, who's to say he is even a man? About Azan, Azan is a frontline champion who can deal a lot of damage at all ranges. He has high mobility with his conviction, which makes him fly across the battlefield. This allows him to fight and distract the enemy backline. If an opponent wants to escape, their movement ability can be interrupted with Reckoning. To block the way for the opponents or to protect himself and his team, Azan can place 5 walls and a semicircle around himself. Another viable playstyle is to use Conviction to push opponents into walls, especially your own walls generated by Sanctuary, to inflict massive damage on your target. All abilities can be strengthened with the passive Ireland taking and dealing damage increases ire, which reduces the damage Azan takes. Finally, with his ultimate he rises into the air, takes reduced damage and can teleport to a chosen position to slam down, dealing damage and knockback to enemies. This can also be used to escape critical situations. Azan's lore, once the king of a long-forgotten kingdom, the Eternal has existed to see countless reigns end. Forged in the crucible of the Pyre's flames as the embodiment of all that persists, Azan is tasked with maintaining the existence of a realm kept free from abyssal influence. Few still alive have ever had cause to engage with one of the oldest of the Pyre Lords, but those who have know that his purifying flames care not for friend or foe, only for the complete eradication of the abyss. Events in the realm have upset the balance, leading to the abyss influence creeping ever closer, and so the Eternal descends from on high to deliver a final warning to the realm: deal with the abyss, or have it be dealt with, by any means deemed necessary.
Look, it was 1 mark. Maybe 5. Who's counting? Love, you can't blame me for finishing jobs you can't. Sorry, Sky. It's not you. It's me.
About Saati, Saati is a damage champion who is equipped with a hand cannon that is effective up to medium range. With the ability Dead Ringer, she can confuse opponents by setting up facsimile of herself and then becoming invisible. By hiding behind her decoy and using this ability at the right intervals, the opponents have a hard time to get her down. The advantage is that the decoys can also cause damage and reveal opponents for every shot that the enemy lands on the decoy. By throwing the ricochet coin in the air and hitting it, she can shoot around corners. In addition, Saati can gain space to the opponents with blast back by igniting a kicking backflip to enemies. Her ultimate wallbang makes it possible to shoot 3 bullets which pierces the world and enemies. Saati's lore: no expense is spared to be the best of the best. She may work for money, but she makes her money work for her, with the latest equipment to complement her skills. You may try to take cover, but not even solid cover can save you from Saati, the trickshot. To you, a coin flip is a gamble. For her, it's an opportunity. If you hear that she's after your bounty, you might as well stop running and meet her face to face, and either way, it only delays her next night out. The biggest marks yet still walk the realm, and those big bounties will fund a lot of carousal.
It's gotta be around here somewhere. Watch out! Don't get yourself killed, okay? Well, can't let these go to waste.
Need healing! Oh, the magistrate!
Seriously? I found it! Ha! As usual, I saved the day.
About Rey, with precise positioning and careful strategy, Rey is capable of keeping her allies alive whilst still racking up tons of damage. Chain Heal allows Rey to heal multiple targets at time and Spirit Link them if needed, due to both abilities' low cooldowns. Envelop can completely negate enemy large damaging ultimates with damage mitigation, increased movement speed, and increased jump height, allowing you to withstand the damage dealt to you then simply heal it back. Finally, Vivify can entirely save a targeted ally and yourself by granting them invulnerability then healing to them to 75% of their maximum health pool. Just be careful when and who you use Rey's ultimate on because certain champions need it more desperately than others. Rey's lore: when Rey left her warren in the burrows, she pointed her ears towards the pursuit of a mastery of magic beyond any living beings. Her quest led her to the seat of the Ruby Throne, where she found the means to achieve her ambitions. She became fast allies and faster friends with the scion of House Echo, Lian, gaining access to the resources of a powerful noble house in exchange for her services and advice. She strives to harness with even greater control and power the chaotic arcane forces that run throughout the realm and bind it together. A rare magical prodigy, her tale has just begun. The scholar of House Echo pursues perfection, and she will throw the book at anyone who gets in her way.
The only way to stop what's coming is to destroy this realm.
I disagree, my dear. I think this realm is a marvelous place. It would be a shame to see it go up in flames.
Enough of your childish banter!
This is how you greet me after all these years.
Half this realm! You turned your back on everything we believed in!
The fire killed all who rejected its rigid doctrine, and many who followed. This realm is a resource to be utilized, Azan. I do wish things were different between us. After all, what's a tentacle or two between lovers? Ah, but don't worry. I'll keep you around to watch. You'll have front row seats to the show as this realm achieves its true potential.
Nyx's lore: in the far past, Nyx was once a Pyre Lord, working alongside Azan and others in the seemingly eternal fight against the chaotic abyss. Over time, she found herself disillusioned with the ways of the Pyre and their rigid controlling dogmas, so content to throw away countless lives in their endless wars. She would show the Pyre the power of freedom, true freedom. Approached by the one who would eventually be known as Seris, they devised a plan for Nyx to begin her great betrayal. Nyx left the Pyre behind and traveled through one of Seris' portals into a lord's fortress. Once there Nyx slew and subdued all who stood in her way in a violent bloodbath. Even the residing lord was no match for her fury, their name lost to time, cementing Nyx as an abyssal lord. Her time in the abyss has changed her physically, but she remains determined to bring a new age of chaos and freedom to the realm. With her growing army behind her, she offers power to those who will accept it, a united front through strength and the chaos of free will, a force strong enough to overwhelm the Pyre wholly.
Praying, scared. Darkness has come for you!
Darkness. I do not fear the dark.
About Vatu: Vatu is a hypermobile flank character with a heavy reliance on accuracy, active play, and cooldown management. Though at first he may seem quite weak due to his range, health, and low sustained DPS, he makes up for it through very high burst damage for a champion so mobile, if you can land his shadow bombs. By utilizing his abilities effectively, Vatu can effectively dance through the battlefield and strike at any given moment, harassing and reducing cooldowns from long range, and dueling and assassinating up close. Vatu's lore: behind every door of the mind is the fear of the darkness in the corner of a dimly lit room. It is the unknown, the terror without a form, but with a name, the shadow. Vatu's origins are shrouded in the same shadow he uses as a weapon. He is the knife in the night, ending in eternal conflict. He is the untimely death, never confirmed as accidental. He and the Thousand Hands Guild have an understanding. They provide him with work and money, and he takes care of their problems. The only thing clear in his actions are his desire to protect his Skadron people and his deadly capability to do so. Wielding sharp kunai and mysterious shadow magic, Vatu takes care of business with a ruthless efficiency matched only by his strict code of ethics. His are not the eyes you want to see staring back at you from the darkness, for by that time it is already too late.
We've been wiped out. We can't hold. Commander Octavia?
I've got you. This isn't over yet. For the realm!
About Octavia, Octavia is a damage champion who is equipped with a marksman rifle which is effective in medium to high ranges when designated sights is used. With her commanding leap, she leaps into the air to gain control of the battlefield. Aiming down sights will cause Octavia to levitate in air. Moreover, she can create an opaque dome that hides allies and disorients enemies inside of it. Octavia stands out with her tactical finesse to lead her team. Therefore, she can select passive abilities which will support all her teammates in the fight. With her ultimate creeping barrage, she rains down a laser barrage on enemies. Octavia's lore, conflict is ancient, war is perspective, but survival is the only real objective. For those who survive, there is a better life somewhere past that conflict. That is what Octavia is fighting for, a better life for us all. The crucible of war has sharpened her battlefield instincts to a razor's edge. But what truly distinguishes Octavia is her unwavering determination and her trust in her soldiers. If there is hope, she will find that spark and fan it into a roaring blaze, inspiring her troops with unwavering loyalty. The greatest threats to the realm will have to survive meeting Octavia, the indomitable.
I watched in horror as the maw was released. Desperation saw this realm destroyed. It was swift, from the time the first village was taken, to the day the last stronghold fell. It consumed everything that stood in its way, until there was nothing. I saw it happen once. Not this time. United, we can change the outcome.
Change the outcome? The outcome was never in question. Your petty lives. Your useless conflicts are so small. Unite against me, to be consumed together. Don't be scared. This realm will find peace at last. I am the beginning of the end. I am Yagorath, and I will consume this realm.
About Yagorath, Yagorath is a frontline champion with a very big health pool. She is a stance-switching champion swapping between two forms with her ability form swap, her planted form, where she is unable to move, and her travel form, with less damaging capability, but higher mobility. This mobility can be further expanded with acceleration in travel form. Her passive ability Armored Carapace grants her damage reduction while she is in planted form. Due to her massive size, she is also immune to some forms of crowd control, instead having them converted into a stun. Her primary fire creates acid pools in both stances at low to medium ranges. Enemies that contact the acid pool will be slowed and damaged over time. Her alternate fire in planted form, piercing quills, shots out piercing quills that deal damage and explode in a small area. Her ability hardening in planted form grants her great survivability. It gives damage reduction and deals damage to nearby enemies based on ability duration. With primal vision in travel form, she can reveal nearby enemies to allies. Her ultimate, Devour, is only usable in planted form and gives her a new health pool. Yagorath selects an enemy to pull in and devour them, executing them in the process. If Yagorath's health pool is depleted before they are devoured, she will drop the enemy and be momentarily stunned. Yagorath's lore, your joys and hopes, your fears and doubts, all your petty conflicts, utterly devoid of meaning. She is Yagorath, the devourer. She is what it is to consume, absolutely. Everything that is not already her is assimilated, spreading her being across the universe in a never-ending hunger. Momentarily weakened by the futile actions of a broken goddess, she now emerges to bring an end to what was started, the only end that could possibly be.
We trusted you with our lives, Goddess. You told us the seal held evil at bay. But we fell prey to a different kind of evil. And so, I choose a stronger path. I choose the power to protect myself! I am coming for you, Goddess. You and your realm's peace. No matter what game you play, I will sweep the board of your pawns. Go ahead, warn them. I will not be stopped. Darkness will engulf this world, and I will be its herald.
About Vora, Vora is a flank champion who is mobile and deals damage over time, which makes her a good poke damage dealer at medium ranges. Hitting enemies, deployables, or shields with your primary fire, Vora build up stacks of darkness. Using Vora's obliteration or dark siphon abilities will consume these stacks, healing her for a flat amount over a short period of time per stack consumed. Both obliteration and dark siphon also gain an additional effect if they are used when you have the maximum stacks of darkness. Her primary fire, Deadly Scythe, deals a small amount of direct damage with the rest of it being dealt as damage over time. Deadly Scythe has a unique attack chain, that being medium, light, and heavy strike. Vora's right-click ability, Obliteration, has her slamming downwards and damage enemies in a small area around her, as well as knocking them back. Before landing, Vora is immune to all damage and crowd control, making it the perfect escape or execute ability. With maximum darkness stacks, Obliteration deals additional damage and slows anyone unlucky enough to be hit. With Dark Siphon, hitting an enemy will apply damage and an additional damage over time effect at ranges longer than your normal attacks. Using this ability with maximum darkness stacks will cripple the enemy hit. Her movement ability is Tendril. With Tendril, Vora can propel herself over long distances with the right ability placement. Her talent Relentless Presence gives her an additional Tendril charge, making her even more mobile. Vora's ultimate skill, Harbinger's Wrath, lets Vora become a ruthless hunter, increasing her movement speed and reducing the damage she takes during it. After hitting a target, they will be damaged or executed if they are below a certain amount of their maximum health. During the attack animation of her ultimate, she is also immune to damage. However, both Harbinger's Wrath and Obliteration have a few frames in which you are completely vulnerable, since you are still locked in an animation without the damage or crowd control immunity. Vora's lore, a life, once devoted to Io, the moon goddess. Her sacred martial order was one tasked with protecting ancient seals, but even they did not know the extent of the chaos beneath. Feeling forsaken by her goddess, surrounded by unanswered prayers and broken bodies, she has chosen to embrace that chaos. The realm is on a path of self-destruction, but she will deliver it from that fate. She brings the end of those wars, of that suffering, an end to everything. Those who know her dread her coming, for she is Vora, harbinger of the end of the realm, and they are not prepared.
A sacrifice was meant to save the town of Seris, but I couldn't save everyone. The Abyss always wants more. Thousands of lives gone. But I survived. Something protected me. I knew this power could end the war, could save the realm. But the lying oracle tricked me. And these horrors I've unleashed are worse than any war. The Abyss is volatile, deadly. But by my own hands, it will bend. For I am Corvus, son of Khan. I will control the Abyss, and I will save this realm.
About Corvus, Corvus functions similarly to Genos, both being able to give minor buffs to their allies using their healing abilities. Corvus is capable of healing allies that are out of sight using Mark of Fate, although his healing is reduced and he has to have an ally in his line of sight. Placing a Mark of Fate on a front line is essential, as healing a marked ally will not only increase heals given but reduce the cooldown of Abyssal Reconstruction by 1 second, allowing for more healing. Projection allows him to escape tight situations and gives him one of the best mobility options that many supports lack. Corvus lacks offensive potential in his main kit, and should avoid approaching targets that are aware of him, unless running his stun talent, Stunning Visage. To avoid being killed, Corvus should stick near corners, allies, or areas that players can use projection effectively to escape. His ultimate is good for zoning specific choke points and pressuring enemies off a point or payload for a moment. Since Entropic Breach deals percentile damage, it can also be used as a finishing blow against opponents with low health. Entropic Breach is also effective as a zoning ultimate during team fights, usually to slow down or prevent enemies from retreating. Using Chronos is required to play Corvus as a healer, as the reduced cooldown will greatly aid him in his healing. Corvus's lore, the most difficult decisions test even the strongest of wills, but his will has never wavered, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. He is Corvus, the Magistrate's blade. He is the son of Khan, the powerful leader of the Magistrate, but it is by his own merit that he has earned the absolute loyalty of his men and instilled fear in his enemies. A charismatic leader and brilliant tactician, Corvus will stop at nothing to see his goals realized, a peace to surpass that of the Golden Age under the Magistrate's rule. With the near-limitless energy of the Abyss, bent to his iron will, and those soldiers still loyal to his vision of peace, he is doing what no other is capable of. By his own strength, the resistance will fall, and peace will be forged for the realm's citizens, with or without their cooperation.
I was looking for this.
I will have your soul!
Come and get it. Son of a...
Suffer for this.
You're ridiculous. I like you.
About Tiberius, Tiberius is a damage champion. With his chakrams he is a real treat indeed. He is best with a fast-firing champion like Victor or Raum next to him because his fire rate is pretty slow, but Combat Trance lets him attack and move a lot faster. He is really flexible to your type of playstyle because of his cards. His heavy blade is used best when a low health opponent is retreating behind a shield. Crouching Tigran lets him jump into or escape from a battle quickly. His ultimate is something you will get used to, as it is really hard to know what to do the first few times you use it. Altogether, Tiberius is a great champion if used right, but you should use some other damage champ if you are the only damage champion. Tiberius's lore, his is a tale of charm and daring, heroic feats backed by deadly prowess. A traveler of the realm looking for worthy foes to test his mettle, sharpening his skills and weapons alike. Adored by the people, feared in battle, Tiberius, the weapons master, knows no equal. Born of the Tigran, Tiberius is the pinnacle of their values. A dashing legend, bold, brash, and relentless, anointed by an ancient blade, destined for battles that are nothing short of legendary. With chakrams, forged by the weaponsmiths of his ancestors, and a sword, forged from the heavens themselves, an ancient artifact capable of banishing unspeakable evils from this world, he is ready for any threat. Tiberius is exhilarated by the opportunity to match blades with a worthy foe. Snarling, he charges headlong into the fray, unleashing an unrelenting storm of steel, claw, and fang.
Another failure. Another weak man. Desperate for a solution. No matter the cost. They turn to us. They always do. And they always regret it. No man can control the abyss. No man can control Raum.
About Raum, Raum is a frontline designed to deal and soak as much damage as possible. His Hellfire Gatling shreds at close range, but becomes almost useless at longer range except for preventing his enemies out of combat healing. Ignition spins his Gatling to maximum output instantly, consuming no ammo for 3 seconds and surely a surprise to any foolish enough to ambush him. Soul Harvest draws in all soul fragments on the battlefield, granting him 2,000 armor. This can stack up to 4,000 armor in total for each fragment collected. Juggernaut launches Raum forward in a full sprint, bowling through enemies to deal 600 damage and applying a knockup of 900 to each enemy he hits. While exceedingly powerful and damaging, it's notorious for being easily shut down with simple stuns, so players must be cautious of sprinting into an enemy team. Raum's ultimate, Cataclysm, deals 999 damage and stuns enemies hit for 1.2 seconds. Upon activation, Raum is immune to crowd control, and any shields, deployables, pets, and illusions hit are destroyed. Raum's versatile talents allow for different playstyles, from a Juggernaut-based playstyle with Enforcer, a semi-supportive playstyle with his talent Subservience, or an ultimate-based playstyle with Earthsplitter. His overwhelming presence on the battlefield will demand focus fire and draw many ultimates, soaking damage for his own team and dealing even more in return with constant earth-splitting or uses of Juggernaut. Raum's lore, all tremble at the mere mention of his name. He is Wrath. He is Fury. He is Raum, Rage of the Abyss. Consumed by burning conflict, tempered in the abyss, his purpose is clear, annihilation. He has fought and triumphed over every entity in those war-scarred plains, shattering every soul that stands against his might. Few remain who are still worthy of his attention, and their conflicts grow stale. Now, he finds himself summoned to the realm, a fertile ground teeming with new victims whose souls are too well connected to their bodies.
We watched you for eons, waiting, dreaming of the day we might meet. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Pieces of us hurtled toward your embrace, along with something else. The darkness. We were broken, unwhole, unworthy of your servant's kindness. But to see them broken too, they do not deserve this. We do not wish to fight, but we will do what we must. There is still hope left in the realm. And so I am here, so no more will be broken.
About Io, Io is a support character who can hold her own for a decent amount of time. Her moonlight can rapidly heal any teammate and also mitigate some damage with the Goddess Blessing talent, and with the Lifelink talent, she can also provide AoE heals with the Guardian Spirit ability. Her movement ability, Lunar Leap, can both get her out of difficult situations and make her a harder target to hit while leaping. However, if she can't escape a flanker, Io can also rely on Luna's stun to win fights. Io's ultimate ability, Begone, allows Io to push enemies along the travel path of a large projectile which can potentially save Io's or another ally's life. Io's lore, for eons, the moon goddess Io watched over the realm. Then, disaster struck, the darkness smothered the goddess's light and shattered the moon that hung above the lands. Pieces of the moon fell to the shattered desert, where Io's faithful watched over them. They kept vigil for the shattered goddess, praying that one day she would return to guide them. As the magistrate marched on the desert sands, intending to claim the power of the moon shards in their vicious struggle with the resistance, that day finally came. At the urging of her celestial contemporary, Genos, Io revealed her true form to fight for her people and stand against those who would threaten their survival.
Our time is short. Our days counted. These tales of the past, they tell of our hubris. Of victory at all costs. Of unleashing forces we could not control. The darkness has conquered all. This realm is lost. I must return. I must change what was. I am our last hope.
About Atlas, Atlas is one of the frontline champions in Paladins. His basic attack chrono cannon allows him to fire projectiles that deal 840 per shot. It can be charged for 1.4s. The longer the charging time, the higher the precision and focus of the projectile. His setback ability lets him fire a projectile that sends the enemy back to where they were 4 seconds ago. Stasis Field skill is used to deploy a shield for 5s that absorbs all incoming damage, but enemies can pass through it. Second Chance allows Atlas to travel 5s into the past, and his health is restored to the highest value it was in that period. This skill is also a handy escape tool. His ultimate lets him fire 3 shots that can freeze enemies in time for 4s. During that time they cannot move, attack, or be attacked. Overall, Atlas is a character that's best when used as a support tank for a main tank in the team. Most of his skills are very situational and need to be used in proper situation in order to maximize their performance. Atlas's lore: there is no light in the future, only an all-consuming darkness. The realm is lost. Atlas will be born into this dark future as the son of a legendary judge. Each day he fights to survive, and each night he finds solace in stories of the realm that used to be. These stories give Realmkind hope, but their final stand against the darkness will fail tragically. All hope will be lost, save for one last glimmer. In a desperate bid, Atlas studied old books of crystal magic and mastered the control of time. He researched old tales of what could have been the source of this destruction, of how the world had fallen. And then, Atlas stepped into the past, determined to save the realm and stop the darkness by changing the course of history itself.
A warder? But how?
We're back.
About Imani. Imani is one of the more complex damage champions, capable of excelling at any range and contributing crowd control and zoning to the point. Imani shifts between her ice stance and fire stance, altering her strengths and weaknesses and allowing players to be very diverse in their playing styles. Imani's lore, long ago, there was chaos and war. The dragons ruled the realm, and everyone else was left to fight over the scraps. But one wise mage learned the dragon's secrets. She became the first warder, the first to command a dragon. It was that warder's actions that paved the way for the Paladins' golden age of peace. The warders were thought to be dead and gone, a relic of a bygone age. Yet, when a beacon was lit in their ancient homeland, an alarm signaled that the warders, or what remained of them, were needed once again. Imani answered that call. Little is known about the last warder's past before she appeared in Dredge's treasure trove to recover her stolen relics, but one thing is sure, she will uphold the legacy of her lineage and stand against the darkness of the future looming over the realm.
The Paladins rejoiced. The warder's relics were secured, and with them, victory. Until he attacked, the most feared pirate of the 8 oceans. Drawn to the ancient power the Paladins carry. On the open water, none could challenge Admiral Dredge. The Paladins were routed, the weapon seized for Dredge's treasure hoard. A dragon chooses its master, and Dredge was found lacking. He sank into the depths until he was leagues from the land of the living. But the pirate was far from death. The abyss bore Dredge back into the realm atop its horrid tentacles. The undead admiral sails the seas again, and none will take his treasure.
About Dredge. Dredge is a damage champion, capable of outputting massive area damage from long range and zoning control on the map. With his cursed howitzer, Dredge fires grenades that arch before falling. He can easily apply heavy pressure on the point or in flanking lanes using both his left click and right click. Enemies caught within proximity of his grenades will take heavy damage based on their distance from the explosives. Upon reloading his gun, it will shoot out a lobbing projectile that deals huge damage if it manages to direct hit an enemy. His harpoon can be used to slow enemies who get too close or to finish off fleeing enemies who manage to get out of range of his main attack. Dredge may also summon 2 individual shortcuts, which he can use to teleport between the portals, allowing him to escape deadly threats or simply reposition himself. His ultimate, Kraken, summons the destructive powers of the Abyssal Kraken, creating a large sphere wherever he points, which deals massive damage to any enemy stuck within its area after a brief delay. Dredge can become very vulnerable in close range against flanks if he misses his harpoon or is found without a nearby shortcut to escape through. Dredge's lore, Admiral Jed Roberts ruled the 8 oceans as the realm's most feared pirate until one final treasure led to his doom. The Admiral stole the warder's relics from the Resistance, but could not tame the dragon's might. His ship was destroyed, his crew scattered, and he sank to certain death in the ocean's depths. The Abyss intervened and bore the Admiral, now Admiral Dredge, back into the realm of the living. Now the undead pirate travels the seas again, and no soul, living or dead, will take his treasure from him.
How long was it since Koga last climbed these walls? How long since he last stood among the 1,000 hands? This was not how Koga thought he would return to his family. But family doesn't try to kill you. Family doesn't brand you a betrayer. No longer would he wait. Koga would face his former master, and Zhin would pay. The Thousand Hands would never forget the day Koga left. But the day he returned would be far worse.
About Koga, Koga is an incredibly mobile flank champion who can swap stances, unlocking other abilities. He also has an energy bar which he uses for all his abilities. His abilities do not have cooldowns, but instead drain his energy. He can swap back and forth from his regular stance and his dragon stance. When in dragon stance, his energy is constantly drained. Koga's primary fire are dual SNGs, which are exchanged for his Hellkite claws when in his dragon stance. The SNGs have a very high rate of fire, in contrast to the Hellkite claws, which do high damage in burst style. Koga's second ability is a short dash, which makes him untargetable for the duration. This uses 1 bar of energy. When in dragon stance, he dashes forward, hitting any enemy caught in his path using all his remaining energy. Koga's third ability grants him 30% more movement speed and increased jump height. This uses 1 bar of energy. He also passively has the ability to climb walls. His ultimate strikes enemies for 1500 damage per second for 2 seconds in an area roughly the size of the payload objective. He is untargetable for the duration. Overall, he is best suited for running and dashing around due to his low health pool and high mobility. Koga's lore: once, a nameless street rat challenged the tyrant, Zhin. For the boy's courage and his remarkable skills, Zhin granted him a new life in the Thousand Hands Guild, along with a new name, Koga. The guild became Koga's new family and he became their finest ninja. But not all families get along. Out of jealousy, lies were spread and false evidence was planted. Zhin's resulting fury forced Koga to flee. Now, the exiled ninja fights for his new family, the Resistance, as he searches for the one who betrayed him.
2 sisters, 2 fates defined by this place. While all towns harbored darkness, true evil lurked in the village of Seris. A portal to the abyss, and it demanded to be fed. The magistrate made its decision. One sister would be sacrificed to the abyss, her life less important than its hunger. The girl accepted her fate, but for her sister, the choice to fight was an easy one. Alas, a common girl cannot defeat the magistrate, or the abyss. The sister was taken. Only a lock of hair was left, another of the magistrate's meaningless gestures. With no hope left in the realm, she turned to a source of salvation, the eternal pyre, the cleansing flame from which we are reborn. The sister prayed for guidance, for her loved one's soul. Most of all, she prayed for the strength to fight the abyss, so that no others would be lost. As the sacrifice neared, the void's hunger grew stronger and stronger, until the abyss realized it hungered not for a soul, but for a body. The abyss was unleashed, and the village of Seris was destroyed. All were lost, save for one last soul. For what the sister had sought, the pyre had given, and the weak sister was no more. For she was Furia, cleansing flame incarnate. She would do what none had done before. She would stand against the abyss.
About Furia, Furia is an aggressive support and she does a lot more than just healing her team. She brings a lot of damage and crowd control with her Pyre Strike to the team as well. Her weapon Pyre Blade deals great damage up to medium range and could have increased attack speed by healing allies. Furthermore, Furia has a lot of defensive potential against flanks. Furia's ultimate in Flame, which grants the team bonus weapon damage and movement speed, is best used when the team is going into a point fight. Furia's lore, Sarah prayed to the Eternal Pyre for the strength to fight the Abyss and to avenge her fallen sister, cruelly sacrificed by the Magistrate. Her prayers were answered. She was saved from the Abyss and transformed into Furia, an avenging angel of cleansing flame, Pyre incarnate. Now the former sisters stand opposed, each a vessel for otherworldly powers far beyond that of mere mortals.
This is Ascension Peak, for it was here that Genos stepped into the sky and became one with the cosmos. Centuries passed as the faithful searched the stars, whispering that Genos lived in the night sky. Most thought them mad. Many hopeful pilgrims arrived. Lost souls, forever wishing they too could leave their pasts behind. Until a broken soldier witnessed the impossible. The Ascended returned. Genos revealed what he had seen among the stars. The countless wonders, the unimaginable power, and a darkness that would one day threaten the realm. The Ruby Throne Room was abuzz with the news. Genos had returned. While her court gossiped, Lian spoke in hushed tones with a hulking figure. Khan, the Primus of House Icon, the general of its armies, and chief advisor to the Ruby Throne. If Genos could be convinced to join the Magistrate's armies, Lian could end this war. A victory that would give House Ico more power than ever before. The siege nears. Khan rallies his forces to battle, leading House Ico's royal guard to recruit the so-called god. And Khan does not take no for an answer.
About Khan, Khan is offensive/semi-support front line. The primary weapon heavy repeater deals damage up to medium range. His skills center around solidifying team position and breaking apart enemy lines with Commander's Grab. He can support his team with Battle Shout, which will heal him and the teammates around him. In addition, he has a decent movement speed for a front line. His ultimate Overpower targets an enemy and drags them to you. Khan's lore, the Patriarch of House Aiko issued a challenge to his captains: keep the house's banner upright for the longest amount of time. Men strong enough to toss lesser men across the battlefield tried, but few were strong enough to last even a day with the banner in hand. The last captain to attempt the test, a young man named Khan, held the banner in his hands for hours. As his arms tired, he beckoned to a common servant and tasked her with taking the banner from him and keeping it upright. Even though I must fall, he said, the banner will remain. Thus he passed the test, for this was no test of strength, but one of loyalty to House Aiko. Khan proved himself worthy of command with his actions that day. Now, he serves Lian as advisor and protector, a steadfast supporter of House Aiko. About Moji, Moji is a flank champion capable of high burst damage. Her secondary attack creates a spray which deals rapid, but very low damage and applies magic marks. These marks are detonated by her primary's projectile, increasing its damage up to 1,000 depending on the amount of marks. She has a magic barrier that renders her completely immune to damage, but unable to attack. If she is hit while under the effects of a barrier, it immediately applies the maximum amount of marks to the enemy. Her movement skill, Scamper, is helpful to quickly reach nearby targets or escape from an unfavorable situation. Her ultimate, Bon Appetit, transforms enemies into helpless treats, which are executed if Moji makes contact with them, but immune to everything else. Moji's lore: while the rest of the rabbit-like Lipery fled to the forests to avoid getting involved in the war raging across the realm, Moji took it upon herself to summon the great nature spirits to defend the world. She charges into battle atop her trusty familiar, Pulley, who carries her through the fray as she unleashes a maelstrom of sorcerous destruction on her enemies. Once the war is over and the realm is returned to its natural state, she hopes to return to the forest to help her people begin the healing process and restore all that was lost. About Vivian: Vivian is a damage champion who can deal sustained damage with her light machine gun up to medium range. She has the ability to protect her front upper body with her deflector shield. In addition, she can throw out a deployable sensor that reveals enemies to her team in a large radius. By activating the ultimate, she summons 2 sentinel drones that fire energy blasts while she shoots her light machine gun and deals burst damage. Her weak point is her lack of movement abilities. Vivian's lore: rapidly rising through the ranks of the magistrate, Vivian's clever, persistent scheming got her appointed to the Deepworks facility, where she was the first to recognize the military potential of the research they were conducting. In the swirling chaos of the war with the Resistance, she sees only the opportunity to advance her station in life. Equipped with some of the most advanced crystal-powered weaponry ever created, she joins the battle not to prove herself or to follow orders, but to find and silence the lone witness of her true plans. About Terminus: Terminus is a frontline champion whom not even death can keep down. Terminus' Massacre Axe allows him to deal damage to all enemies in front of him. His Power Siphon skill allows him to absorb enemy attacks and turn the damage into charges for his Calamity Blast skill. Shatterfall lets him leap and crash down with his axe, dealing damage and slowing enemies in the area. Terminus' ultimate skill, Reanimate, grants him the ability to revive after being killed and deal a fair amount of damage around him upon resurrection. The only problem is you have to be very close to your target to deal damage. He is best at keeping / taking an objective. Terminus's lore: whatever Terminus once was, he has since become an instrument of war fighting on behalf of the magistrate. His mind and memories are long gone, his broken body bound by dark sorcery and unstable magic crystals. His form, stuck somewhere between life and death, may be a mere shadow of his former self, but it has also rid him of hesitation and fear. He obediently charges into battle with reckless abandon, hefting a terrifying battle axe that few mortals could lift and even fewer could hope to withstand.
Hey, Mr. Beast! What you doing? You need help? Isn't this exciting? Have you ever escaped the law? Don't shawarma?
About Talus, Talus is a flank champion with an interesting playstyle. This consists of shuffling up the back line of the opponent team and teleporting back to safety shortly before it becomes dangerous. The flanker has a weapon that is particularly effective at short and medium range. Talus' skill set is unique, and above all, his ultimate skill is an interesting mix of revelation, teleportation, and punch with a recoil. Talus's lore: Talus might still be young and overly optimistic, but he's got big plans. After almost losing his family to an angry mob who refused to accept the otherworldly Skadrian as neighbors, he set out on a quest for knowledge. From the shores of an abandoned island paradise to the darkened corridors of the Deepworks, he worked to uncover forgotten truths and unlock his inborn aptitude. When the resistance rose up to oppose the magistrate, he joined them, eager to put his newfound abilities to work and prove that the Skadrian deserve a place in the realm. About Strix, Strix is one of two snipers along with Kinessa. He is the first champion capable of switching between his primary and secondary weapons. His ultimate is a flashbang grenade, which is a non-lethal ordnance that can blind his enemies for a short period of time. His sniper rifle can deal 1200 damage per round to the body or limb. A headshot can deal 1800 damage, forcing most of his enemies to immediately retreat and hide from him. His pistol deals less damage but is useful for engaging in close-quarters situations. Strix's lore: having spent most of his life in the military, Strix was an invaluable member of the Sentinels, tasked with training their elite sharpshooters like Kinessa. He was reassigned after the unit was disbanded, sent to the front lines with the regular army as it prepared to put down the resistance. Always the calm and composed professional, he is the master of stealth and camouflage, able to pick off high-value targets before the enemy is even aware of his presence or that they are under attack at all. About Genos, Genos is a team-focused support champion, capable of healing allies through walls and holding enemies in place. His primary weapon, the Star Splitter, is a fully automatic celestial weapon effective in short to medium-range combat. His healing ability, Astral Mark, will place a lotus symbol over an ally anywhere so long as they are in range, giving a small burst of immediate healing and then gradual heals for an extended period of time. His offensive skill, Void Grip, will lift an enemy into the air and hold them there, preventing them from escaping unless they use a mobility ability or gain CC immunity. While holding an enemy in Void Grip, Genos becomes vulnerable and cannot attack nor use abilities, including healing. To escape his enemies and catch up to injured allies, Genos can activate Stellar Wind, which causes Genos to move faster and jump higher. Attacking or using an ability cancels Stellar Wind. His ultimate, through time and space, grants Genos CC immunity and will stop him wherever he is, including mid-air, and charge up a huge cosmic beam of light in the direction he is facing. After a short time, Genos will blast energy in that direction, ranging almost the entire map and significantly damage all enemies, killing most. While Genos is one of the free champions for all players, it is not recommended to use him as a solo healer. He is a great champion to play for all players who want to get into the support class. Genos' lore: Genos was merely a young monk in search of greater wisdom and a reprieve from the ravages of the Second Scourge when he climbed that mountain many generations ago. He found his answer written among the stars and ascended into the heavens to dedicate himself to it. He vanished for many years, leaving behind only a small group of followers who were dedicated to carrying on his legacy in the realm. Now, as the realm descends into war once again, so too is Genos descended from the stars to walk upon the ground once again, joining the battle for some arcane purpose that only he understands. About Lian, Lian is a damage champion capable of dealing moderate amounts of damage in short time periods and who specializes in medium-range combat and long-range executions. Her semi-automatic heirloom rifle allows her to pressure enemy backlines and easily handle immediate threats. Unique to Lian, all her standard skills apply on hit weapon effects such as cauterize. Her ultimate skill, Enlightenment, deals high damage in a straight line while granting damage reduction and CC immunity while firing it, making it ideal for last stands and confirming runaway kills. Lian's lore, after a successful ploy to set herself up as the legitimate heiress to the Ruby Throne, nothing stood in Lian's way. Her sincere dedication to her family's legacy may have earned her the title of Scion, but her skill with the rifle is what won her the respect of her family's royal guard. When the magistrate called on all loyal houses to unite against the resistance, she was honor-bound to accept, arriving from her far-off homeland to represent House Echo along with her faithful bodyguard and general, Khan. About Zhin, Zhin is a flank champion that excels at dueling his opponents at close range. He attacks with his Inferno Blade, which flings burning oil at his foes. His counter and billow skills are built to outplay opponents and punish their mistakes. Whirl's short cooldown allows it to be used in a defensive and offensive manner. Zhin's ultimate skill, Spite, renders both the target and himself completely immobile for a short duration, making it a risky but powerful tool for taking out important targets. Zhin does, however, suffer from limited mobility and has a lackluster performance when fighting at distance when compared to most other flankers. He also has a low damage potential, a high amount of downtime between abilities, and low sustainability. Zhin can be effective in lower-level play, but struggles in more competitive settings due to his downsides. Zhin's lore, robbed of his noble lineage, Zhin ruthlessly carved out his own throne atop the criminal underworld. By the time he was a man, he'd won the loyalty of enough thieves, assassins, and corrupt bureaucrats to build his own shadowy empire, the Thousand Hands Guild. Anyone scheming against him has a tendency to vanish in the middle of the night, while those who confront him directly meet their doom at the end of his wicked flaming sword. He refuses to pick a side in the war, as there's more profit to be made playing them against each other.
My point.
About Ash, Ash is a frontline champion who wields a flak cannon that is effective up to medium range. She specializes in point control through heavy crowd control and damage reduction with her skills. Her cannon projectiles prematurely explode after traveling a certain distance, making Ash unique in her ability to damage enemies around corners or under ledges with only her primary weapon attack. Her ultimate skill plants a banner that provides her with damage immunity while within its area of effect, making Ash ideal for last stands or to stall and buy time for her team. Ash's lore: Ash made a name for herself in the Magistrate Army by volunteering for frontline duty using experimental heavy armor and siege weaponry. Lacking finesse or subtlety, she more than makes up for it with brutal tactics and overkill. The War Machine, as she is called by her allies and enemies alike, earns the title every time the dust settles, and she is all that remains on the scorched battlefield. When the Resistance emerged and brought the war to Crosswind Hold, Ash led the charge against them with fury and determination. About Willow: Willow is a damage champion who provides consistent splash damage and focuses on zone control and instantly denying enemies all healing effects. With her wand of overgrowth, Willow shoots blasts of Fey energy that explode on impact without damage fall off. Her right-click, Dead Zone, will fire out a toxic spore that covers the location it hits in a circle area, preventing enemy healing so long as they're in the area and for a short time after escaping it. Willow can control the point and other zones by throwing her seedlings which, after hitting the ground, will explode after a short period into 4 smaller seedlings, which also explode after a small delay. All explosions by seedlings cause area damage, which will break down any and all enemies who fail to move away from the immediate area. Her mobility ability, Flutter, allows her to quickly fly into any direction she is facing, including vertically, allowing her to change her position to a nearby platform, escape over a wall, or chase down a fleeing enemy. Her ultimate ability, Fey Flight, allows Willow to fly quickly into the air, gaining CC immunity and infinite ammo without having the need to reload. Willow's basic DPS is rather low for a damage champion, making her a difficult champion to 1v1 flanks with if Flutter is on cooldown. Uncontested, Willow can devastate the point and limit the effectiveness of enemy healers. Willow's lore: though short-lived and even-tempered, the fairies of the Summer Court wage an endless war against the encroachment of modern civilization. Willow might only have 3 summers to her name, but her aggressive demeanor more than makes up for her lack of experience. She charges into the fray with an eagerness and tenacity that worries the precious few remaining fairies. At a time when the Fae should be regrouping to bolster their dwindling numbers, Willow has taken it upon herself to take arms against both the Magistrate and the Resistance. About Seris: Seris is the support champion who has a great healing ability that spreads through nearby allies. Her soul orb fires projectiles that pass through enemies and apply a mark to them. These marks can then be detonated with Ren's soul for additional damage. They also restore Seris' health per detonation. Restore Soul allows her to quickly restore her target's health, but must be channeled. Shadow Travel grants her stealth and grants her damage and crowd control immunity for the duration, allowing her to slip out of dangerous situations. Seris' ultimate skill, Convergence, causes her to throw her soul orb forward, which then stuns and pulls any enemy near it, making it a great tide turner. Seris's lore, a being from beyond the void, Seris has taken the name of the city she completely destroyed upon first setting foot in the world of the living. Draining the souls of her enemies and occasionally restoring them to her allies, however, pales in comparison to her unnatural prescience, granting her the ability to see into the past and predict the future all at once. She appears here and there in time and space, always at the opportune moment to change the course of events towards some unknown but seemingly inevitable fate.
Hey, I'm not at fault here.
No one escapes the law!
You alright? Time to get...
About Lex. Lex is a flank champion who specializes in close-range duels. He relies on good use of his mobility to outplay his opponents. His skill in pursuit is his tool to kill elusive targets who are on low health, and retribution grants vision on a random target and bonus credits for killing them based on their current kill streak. Combat Slide allows Lex to quickly reposition himself during fights and to disengage. His ultimate, the Law, instant kills targets within the area of effect who are under a health threshold, which makes it a great tool for cleaning up team fights. However, Lex lacks vertical mobility, deals low damage from afar, and relies on having clear line of sight of his targets to deal any damage. Lex's lore, the Outer Tribunal, is made up of merciless, oath-bound judges, with none more dedicated than Lex. His partner, Androxus, and he traverse the outskirts of the realm together, tracking down infamous criminals and battling all manner of horrors on behalf of the magistrate and its people. After encountering a sinister figure claiming to be a goddess, though, Androxus changed, abandoning his duties and quickly rising to the top of the most wanted list. Lex, unable to turn his back on the law or his oaths to his partner, vowed to one day take his former friend in, dead or alive. About Inara. Inara is a frontline champion with a great amount of sustainability with Earthen Guard and is capable of hardpoint fights. Her weapon can deal great damage up to medium distance. Unlike other frontlines, she does not have a shield, she deploys a wall instead. With Warder's Field, which slows enemies, she can deal a considerable amount of damage at extremely close range. This ability can be useful for keeping enemies away from the capture point or preventing flanks from escaping. Her ultimate, Seismic Crash, passes through certain shields. Other shields are not able to block the attack, such as Atlas, and stuns any enemies in the area. Inara's lore, one of the few remaining Stagala, Inara was reluctant to join the resistance in their time of need, but she was oath-bound to do so. Originally created to help the ancient order of the Paladins repel the first Goblin Scourge, the Stone People slumbered for generations before being summoned to battle once again. Inara was slow to act, but after witnessing the savage acts committed by the magistrate, she threw herself once more into the battle, this time on behalf of the resistance, heeding the call of Valera and her Paladins once again.
Good night.
About Maeve. Maeve is a flank champion who is extremely mobile and has good burst damage potential with her talent Cat Burglar, incredible mobility with her Rogue's Gambit talent, and powerful anti-tank capability with Street Justice. She is able to quickly throw 2 high-damaging daggers at a time. Her Pounce and Prowl skills let her constantly be on the move, while her 9-life skill resets the cooldown of all her abilities, allowing her to double up on her mobility options, as well as self-heal a modest amount of damage. Her ultimate ability is Midnight, which limits the vision of her enemies, which makes way for plays. Her passive skill is a double jump ability. Maeve's lore, After making a name for herself as a skilled thief and knife fighter, the half-Tigran Maeve decided to join the war for personal gain, selling her services to the highest bidder. She dashes from shadow to shadow with unnatural agility, concealed by her magical long coat, a souvenir from one of her most daring burglaries, the Magistrate's Fortress Keep. While her employers find her talents useful, they often complain of suspiciously misplaced valuables and lost coins after she moves on to the next fight. About Torvald. Torvald is a supportive frontline champion whose primary contribution to battle is shielding for himself and allies, as well as crowd control against critical enemies. Unlike other frontliners, Torvald's shielding is consistently present and must be destroyed in order to damage his hit points. His primary weapon shoots low-damage energy blasts from his gauntlet that have significant damage fall-off, limiting his effective combat range. His CC ability, Nullify, damages an enemy and prevents them from using their abilities besides their primary attack for a duration of time, leaving them susceptible to his teammates. In times of danger, Torvald can throw a temporary shield onto an ally using protection, provided he has line of sight of the ally and that they are within range. Torvald is also able to recharge his own shield, allowing him to survive for extended periods of time on the point or in battle. Torvald's ultimate, Hyper Beam, significantly slows him down at the cost of using the full might of his gauntlet. His gauntlet will shoot out a large beam of energy, dealing 1150 damage over its duration and knocking back any enemies in its path. This ultimate can be aimed throughout its duration, pushing enemies off the point or into environmental hazards. Torvald's lore, as the ranking scholar and preeminent authority on runic lore at the Deepworks facility, Torvald is one of the architects of the wave of crystal-powered technology sweeping across the realm. Though he would much rather have his nose buried in a dusty old history tome or reach into a swirling vortex of magical energy using his enhanced stone gauntlet, he understands that the Magistrate is the driving force behind all his research and has joined their effort to put down the resistance. Once the war is over, he can once more get back to work. About Tyra. Tyra is a damage champion with high damage and medium health, but low mobility. Her skill set excels at area control and hunting down targets. Her auto rifle picks off enemies quickly with its high rate of fire and its nade launcher that lobs a grenade to finish them off. Tyra's firebomb creates an area of fire that damages any enemies that stand in it, as well as herself. Hunter's Mark allows her to reveal one enemy and increase the damage they take from her primary weapon. Tyra's ultimate skill, Crossfire, dramatically increases her auto rifle's rate of fire and her movement while also granting unlimited ammo. This makes it ideal for a sudden attack, finishing a low health enemy, or turning fights around. Tyra's lore, raised to shoot straight and survive the harsh winters of the frontier, Tyra signed on with the Magistrate Army at a young age. After the Sentinel's disastrous final mission, she returned to her homeland to make a living tracking down the monstrous threats to the common folk that lurk beyond the fringes of the realm. Her unyielding stamina and pinpoint accuracy with the rifle serve her well in her new role, helping the Resistance fight back against the Magistrate and bring an end to the war that rages across the realm. About Shaolin. Shaolin is a damage champion and an oppressive ranged attacker who fires high damage arrows, dealing more damage the longer they are charged. The crippling arrow allows him to cripple enemies. Rapid Shot allows Shaolin to fire many arrows in a short burst. Withdraw, which lets him backflip away, and his ultimate skill, Heat Haze, both grant Shaolin stealth, making him invisible, making him harder to track down, and allowing him to slip away when under fire. However, he is very reliant on his skills and will be easily taken out while on cooldown. Player awareness and anti-stealth effects are also a harsh counter against him. Shaolin's lore, tales of the legendary adventurer Shaolin have spread far and wide across the realm, recounting his heroic exploits and death-defying antics. During his short lifetime, he's already helped topple warlords, recovered long-lost artifacts, and betrayed the infamous Thousand Hands Guild. He's pierced as many hearts with his magical longbow as he has broken with his silver tongue, but even he has a stake in the current conflict between the magistrate and the resistance, standing up to the oppressive magistrate on behalf of the common folk. About Maldamba, Maldamba is a great healer with a constant presence in the form of crowd control and constant healing. His spitting cobra fires globs of venom that deal damage to enemies. Upon reloading, he tosses his cobra, stunning anyone it hits. Mending Spirits allows him to quickly heal a single ally for a short period of time. Gourd allows him to heal allies and damage enemies within its area of effect. Slither allows him to traverse a short distance while gaining immunity to damage for a short period of time, allowing him to slip out of dangerous situations. His ultimate, Dread Serpent, fires a dark vessel that explodes when it makes contact with a wall, fearing all enemies caught in the blast, making it very effective in shutting down enemy players. Maldamba's lore, when Wakono, the mother of sorrow and revenge, turns her gaze to the mortal world, she appoints a champion. In this cycle, the island witch Dr. Maldamba has been gifted with her powers and sent into the war to evangelize her faith by laying waste to any who would stand before his goddess. His mastery of dark magic and virulent poisons was already impressive before the insidious goddess imbued him with even greater abilities, rendering him one of the deadliest beings in the realm, an extension of Wakono's will. About Makoa, Makoa is a front-line champion able to soak up large amounts of damage and a wide hitbox, making him ideal for defending his allies from enemy fire. His cannon shots are quite slow and have a steep drop-off of trajectory and damage, but can still be dangerous. Dredge Anchor allows Makoa to pull in enemy champions to leave them at the mercy of his teammates. Shell Shield spawns a large, round shield around Makoa for a duration, while Shell Spin allows him to quickly reposition himself even while his shield is active. Makoa's ultimate skill, Ancient Rage, will increase his maximum health, fully heal him and change his weapon shots for wide melee attacks that can hit multiple targets per swing, making it an ideal skill for turning the tides of battle around. Makoa's lore, once the dedicated protector of the island home of the Skadron, the ancient Makoa has now been summoned to the mainland. In his absence, he fears that he cannot ensure the safety of the volcanic islands. But with the greater threat in the realm, he's taken to the land, to make sure those he protects have a home to return to. With him, he brings the ocean's fury and the tortoise's indomitable resilience, as well as various naval implements, to bear against those who would defile the natural world. About Victor, Victor is a damage champion with very high damage output and one of the easiest champions to use. For those who are used to various military shooters, his assault rifle fires with a high fire rate but low accuracy, though his iron sights ability allows him to significantly improve this accuracy at the cost of his movement speed. His frag grenades deal area damage and can be cooked before thrown so they explode earlier. His hustle allows him to run in and out of fights and gives him limited flanking capability, but will only work while he isn't attacking. Victor's ultimate skill, Barrage, allows him to deal high damage in large areas, making it a great tool for clearing areas and forcing enemies to disperse. Victor's lore, the former commander of Sentinels, an elite magistrate military unit, Victor lives in shadow of his former glory. He took the blame for what happened during their final mission, was stripped of his rank, and reassigned to a lower position by Grand Magister Khan. Though disgraced, his training and skill as a soldier remains unmatched, along with his unwavering loyalty to the magistrate. Determined to regain his standing, he pushes himself well beyond his limits in battle against the resistance, striving to end the rebellion before the conflict truly rages out of control. About Bomb King. Bomb King is a damage champion with a heavy focus on area damage. His sticky bombs can be deployed on walls and even enemies, which can then be detonated at will. His Grumpy Bomb deals damage and stuns all enemies in a wide area, which is useful for area denial and forcing the enemy to get out of position. Poppy Bomb can be used both as an escape tool and to send enemies near it flying away. His ultimate skill, King Bomb, turns Bomb King himself into a mobile bomb that deals high damage in a very large area around him and stuns enemies. Bomb King's lore. During a fortress siege long ago, a clever warlord decided that the best way to breach her enemy's defenses would be to create walking bombs. Her warlock accidentally brought one of the larger bombs to life, creating the Bomb King. After destroying the warlord's entire army by himself, Bomb King struck out on his own delusional quest to visit the lands under his rule, which happened to be all of them. The common folk knew better than to offend or even stand very close to him, as his regal demeanor can instantly change to furious, explosive rage at any moment. About Drogoz. Drogoz is a heavy output damage champion with high vertical mobility. His weapon of choice, a rocket launcher, fires rockets in the desired direction without fall-off damage nor change in velocity. Any enemy hit by Drogoz's Loogie Spit will take additional damage from his rockets. The Loogie can also be shot mid-air, exploding it and doing damage to enemies based on their proximity to the explosion, making it an excellent attack tactic for around corners and in enclosed areas. Drogoz's skill, Salvo, loads all remaining rockets into his launcher, allowing them to be fired rapidly with a single click. To maneuver the map, Drogoz uses a jetpack that relies on a fuel reserve that gradually refills when not in use. To change his firing position and escape potentially dangerous situations, Drogoz can use his jetpack's thrust ability to quickly project himself into the air and forward. This thrust does not consume any fuel and can be used even when his reserve is empty. Drogoz's lore. Born wingless as a mere Wyran underling to a vicious dragon, Drogoz escaped his servitude using a pair of crystal-fueled mechanical wings crafted by a clever dwarven engineer. The draconic blood in his veins flowed with cruelty and greed, compelling him to continue on a realm-wide rampage of destruction as he amassed his own horde, one that will rival that of the true dragons. As the conflict between the magistrate and the resistance rages, Drogoz streaks through the sky above, swooping down to deal with his foes as quickly and as violently as possible. About Ing. Ing is a support champion able to heal allies from a distance through her illusions. Her illusory mirror fires very fast beams of energy and also allows her to shatter her deployed illusions, causing them to seek enemies and explode to deal damage around them. Her dimensional link permits her to switch places with her illusions, allowing her to quickly reposition herself. Ying's ultimate ability, Illusory Rift, applies a strong healing buff to all of her allies that also allows her movement skill to also teleport to an ally's current positions. Ying's lore, a talented young spellcaster, Ying is a master of illusions and trickery, able to befuddle her opponents with bewildering misdirection. That same magic can also soothe the minds of her allies to ease their suffering and mend their wounds. She made good use of those skills to escape imprisonment by a bandit king and during her time spent as an adventurer afterward. When the magistrate began its campaign of conquest, subjugating the realm in an attempt to restrict the use of magic by the common folk, she felt it was her responsibility to join the fight against their oppression. About Androxus, Androxus is a heavy damage flank champion, capable of gunning down unsuspecting enemies and fleeing before the enemy team can regroup and finish him off. His primary gun, the Cursed Revolver, is a semi-automatic sidearm that excels at short range and has heavy damage fall-off. If an enemy makes the mistake of getting too close to him or not seeing Androxus come up behind them, he can use Defiance, a short-range punch that can impact multiple enemies at once, dealing the same amount of damage as his primary weapon. Androxus's nether step ability will cause him to dash forward 3 times in any direction, horizontally or vertically, allowing him to quickly ambush his prey or otherwise escape undesirable confrontations. To add to his mobility, Androxus can float through the air holding the jump button, allowing him to gradually descend on an unaware target or hide high in the map until he heals. Reversal allows Androxus to absorb all frontal damage coming at him and redirect a large portion of it back at the enemy, making him a dangerous target for high DPS targets. With his ULT, a cursed arm, Androxus focuses his cursed power into his revolver arm, generating a demonic cannon that fires blast damage shots powerful enough to devastate grouped-up enemies or to bring down most heavy champions. While not the most mobile flank, Androxus can overpower most combatants, especially if he gets the first shot in. However, once his abilities are on cooldown, Androxus can be quickly caught off guard and unable to escape. Androxus's lore, Androxus was once a noble lawman of the Outer Tribunal Circuit judges. He and his former partner, Lex, were relentless in their pursuit of criminals and threats to the natural order. After a tragic confrontation with a deceitful being claiming to be a goddess, he became afflicted with an otherworldly disease, dooming him with an endless hunger for souls. Now he wanders the realm, adrift, in a never-ending quest to quell that hunger, stripped of his rank and duties with the tribunal, and condemned to live with the curse for eternity. About Kinessa, Kinessa is a damage champion with a sniper rifle that deals huge damage at high range, but she has a lack of movement speed which is compensated by her handy teleport tool, the Transporter. Furthermore, she can deal damage over time with her oppressor mines. Her ultimate, Headhunter, will deal 50% increased damage by successful shots made to the upper half of an enemy character. Kinessa's lore, as a young recruit in the Elite Sentinels, Kinessa took to her sniper lessons with an eagerness and enthusiasm that surprised her mentors. Frustrated by the rigors of military life, she left before she could complete her training and struck out on her own. As the realm descended into chaos and war, vigilante bounty contracts have been plentiful, earning her all the fame and fortune she'd lacked while in the service of the magistrate. She still refuses to pick a side in the conflict, however, because there's much more money to be made by playing both sides than by contracting with either. About Grover, Grover is a ranged support character that focuses on range poke damage and group healing. Grover's throwing axe does higher damage when the enemy is farther away and does lower damage when enemies are closer to him. His healing ability Blossom is a passive heal, only healing allies who are near him. Activate this skill for immediate burst heal on allies in your passive ability's healing effect. Grover can also throw his axe to cripple a foe and prevent them from using movement abilities. Grover can also extend a vine from his arm to grab an ally or surface to pull himself to them like a grappling hook. Grover has one of the most conflicting ability sets, with his kit having no synergy together and players often having to choose between long-range high-damage Grover or group healing Grover. Grover's lore, the soul of the forest, isn't some invisible spirit or comforting poem about being one with nature. It's an angry, walking tree with a huge stone axe. After decades of peaceful slumber since the last time Grover had to walk the land to help put down the goblin scourge, he has awakened once again to find the forests of the realm threatened by the spread of humanoid civilizations, rampant industrialization, and the all-consuming fires of war. Hefting his trusty axe, he stomps into battle once again, intent on destroying anything and anyone who would harm the natural world. About Evie, Evie is a flank champion with very high mobility. Her weapon, the Ice Staff, lets her fire high-damage explosive shots every second. Her two movement skills, Blink and Soar, allow Evie to appear and disappear behind enemy lines and wreak havoc, while Ice Block gives her up to 3 seconds of invulnerability. Her ultimate skill, Ice Storm, will damage, slow, and cripple enemies in a large area. This provides her with a strong teamfight and zoning tool. However, Evie has a low health pool and heavily relies on her maneuverability to stay alive. Managing her cooldowns well can turn her into a fearsome flank. Evie's lore, after cleverly tricking and imprisoning a greater frost elemental and a magical gemstone, Evie went from apprentice sorceress to winter witch seemingly overnight. Though no longer welcome in her home village, which she left to an uncertain fate, she found her talents to be in high demand in the Resistance's conflict with the Magistrate. Though powerful, her true motivations are as mysterious as the exact details of her background, causing her allies to question her loyalty as well as how long she can really hope to keep the vengeful elemental contained. About Ruckus, Ruckus is a frontline champion with both defensive and offensive capabilities. His weapons are a pair of miniguns that fire at a very high rate and a pair of missile launchers that deal area damage. His emitter creates a shield around himself. The advanced skill allows him to quickly move in a straight line towards the direction he is moving. Ruckus' ultimate skill, Hexafire, will pull out several extra weapons to rain down destruction upon anything in front of him while he suffers a large movement speed penalty for the duration. Ruckus's lore, while toiling in the gold mines, a particularly wily and inventive goblin named Ruckus stumbled upon the long-lost Mind Stone of a fallen war golem. He installed the relic into his mechanical digging suit, hoping it would provide the suit with enough power to outperform the other miners. He was quite surprised when the ancient sentience reawakened and brought the suit to life. Though it resented its situation, its pilot, and the name it was given, Bolt nonetheless agreed to a tentative partnership, one that freed them both to scour the realm in search of fame, fortune, and upgrades. About Buck, Buck is a flank champion with an emphasis on close-quarters combat and hit-and-run strategies. His shotgun shoots shrapnel that deals high damage at close range. Netshot allows Buck to slow down his targets, making them easy prey. Recovery restores a large amount of health after a short channeling time. Buck's movement skill, Heroic Leap, lets him to cover incredible distances in a very short amount of time. His ultimate skill, Buck Wild, grants him infinite ammo and a huge boost to attack speed. However, he lacks the burst potential of most other flankers, and is very reliant on his abilities to be able to do well in fights. Buck's lore, Buck's fighting style is informed by his diverse and complicated story, and is just as unique and esoteric. Pulling from his past experiences, he effectively combines the self-discipline of a devout monk, clever ambush tactics commonly used by underworld thugs, and the skills and weaponry of a frontline soldier into something more than the sum of its parts. Once a loyal member of an elite magistrate unit, he is returned to where it all began, Crosswind Hold, to join the resistance in their struggle against the magistrate. About Barrick. Barrick is a frontline champion who wields a blunderbuss that fires pellets with a large spread. Barrick specializes in area control by deploying up to 2 turrets that automatically fire at nearby enemies and a concave shield wall that provides cover. His rocket boots allow him to quickly dash in and out of dangerous situations. His ultimate skill, Dome Shield, deploys a powerful flamethrower turret protected by a large dome-shaped shield, ideal for area denial and damage output within its radius. Barrick's lore, long before he came to the Deepworks and helped develop the crystal-powered technology spreading throughout the realm, Barrick was a clever inventor and resourceful engineer. Since then, his signature contributions have appeared in almost every field and vocation, from mechanized mining suits and rocket-powered wings to the crystalline weapons used by magistrate and resistance soldiers alike. After a falling out with the corrupt magistrate commander assigned to oversee the security of the Deepworks, he left and pledged his services to Valera and the resistance.
This is a hot team. Los muertos. Stand behind me!
About Fernando. Fernando is a frontline champion with formidable defenses thanks to his massive health pool and his shield skill, which provides cover against enemy fire for himself and allies behind him. He carries a flame lance which acts much like a flamethrower, projecting a stream of fire in an area in front of him. He can also shoot a fireball that deals damage to all enemies it hits. Fernando can use his charge skill to dash forward a short distance, which allows him to quickly reposition himself and damage any enemies he goes through. His ultimate skill, Immortal, grants him and nearby allies immunity to death for a short duration. Fernando's lore, though not of noble birth, and never having been formally trained, Fernando assumed the mantle of knighthood when the knight he served met an untimely fate. From that moment on, he wandered from one heroic adventure to the next, making a name for himself throughout the realm. When the magistrate called on all loyal houses to join them in their efforts against the resistance, he heeded their summons with pride. If his valor in combat and charming confidence can keep his allies from discovering his closely guarded secret, he might just live to become the champion he knows he can be.
Let's make this interesting. Special delivery!
About Pip. Pip is the support champion who has a more balanced approach compared to other champions. His potion launcher allows him to lob projectiles that deal area damage while his explosive flask skill deals damage and slows targets hit. His healing potion restores health to Pip and allies near the potion when it explodes. Weightless helps him get in and out of skirmishes and makes him harder to hit. Pip's ultimate skill, Evil Mojo, turns affected enemies into chickens, leaving them vulnerable for a duration. His kit allows him to be useful for both offense and defense, but at the same time, it doesn't excel at either. Pip's lore, unlike most other Vulpin, Pip chose to specialize in weaponized explosives instead of curative alchemy. He left Brightmarsh, his homeland, in search of adventure across the realm. Now, he splits his time between brewing up all sorts of fiery concoctions to use against the magistrate's forces and creating restorative potions to aid his friends. While his allies have come to appreciate his assistance and expertise, they fully understand that the little fox is as unpredictable as his dangerous mixtures.
You ready for this, Ziggs? Heads
up! About Cassie. Cassie is a damage champion with both high damage and mobility. Her powerful crossbow lets her deal consistent high damage from afar, while her disengaged skill allows her to keep her enemies away from herself or her teammates, or even knock them into environmental hazards. Blast Shot allows Cassie to deal damage in an area, and her dodge roll can be used to keep her alive and get her into good positions. Cassie's ultimate skill, Scout, reveals all enemies and grants Cassie a boost to her movement. Cassie's damage output is incredible with the right loadouts if left unchecked, but flankers and short-range burst champions can give her some serious trouble. Cassie's lore, watching all her friends leave the Greenwood to join the fight against the Magistrate, Cassie lamented the curse that bound her bloodline to her family's homeland. When advice from a mysterious oracle offered her an escape from her obligations, she jumped at the chance, even though she knew the sacrifice she made would haunt her. Taking nothing but her father's enchanted crossbow and her faithful hunting bird, Ziggs, she raced off to join the resistance in their fight against the relentless Magistrate.
Is that food in your beard? Don't be jealous, honey. Time's ticking.
About Skye. Skye is a flank champion with low mobility who relies on her stealth to get behind enemy lines. Her wrist crossbow and poison bolts let her burst vulnerable targets at close range, while hidden allows her to quickly slip in and out. Her smoke screen makes her invisible for a short duration upon entering it, making it a handy escaping tool. Skye's ultimate skill, Time Bomb, throws a bomb that, upon detonation, deals massive area damage while destroying all shields. However, her damage from a distance is very low and unreliable. Her stealth is partially dispelled while standing near enemies, a loud noise is played when hidden runs out, and her bomb can only damage targets within line of sight, all of which cripple her potential when fighting against experienced opponents. Skye's lore, noble by birth, Skye abandoned a life of luxury and wealth to pursue her dreams of excitement and adventure. During her time spent on the streets interacting with the criminal underworld of the realm, she discovered her natural talent and boundless obsession with killing. When her career as a contract assassin brought her fame and fortune, she caught the Magistrate's attention, and now serves as one of Grand Magister Karn's closest advisors. To her, the War of the Realm is just a long-term contract, one that won't end until the last of the Resistance is dealt with. About Grok. Grok is a support champion with a high damage output. Ghost Walk will let him become untargetable. As his primary weapon, he wields his lightning staff that creates a channeled beam of lightning that can go up to medium range. In addition, his shock pulse will bounce between enemy players. These abilities combined give him a great damage output. To support his team, he can plant 2 healing totems at long range, which will create a healing area with no vertical limit. He takes flight with his ultimate Tempest, which will slow and strike nearby enemies, all the while healing nearby allies. Grok's lore, being struck by lightning once is usually more than enough to kill someone, but after dozens of strikes, Grok was still standing. Though it took him a while to realize it, he had been imbued with the power to control the lightning itself, and he put it to good use defending his tribe from a goblin attack that would have otherwise destroyed them. Seeing his newfound power as a sign from the weather spirits, the rest of the Red River Orcs immediately appointed him their chieftain. With the clash of the Magistrate and Resistance escalating, he sensed a new storm of a different sort brewing and joined the battle on behalf of his tribe.